What's up everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Buzz. Today, we're breaking down the latest updates from last night's fights, catching you up on everything that went down in the combat sports world. We are officially nearing the end of Week 1, in what will be a lengthy 6-week layoff between UFC events. While the UFC calendar may be quiet for now, the MMA community hasn't been left empty-handed. Fight fans were still treated to some notable action, and there were a few performances that definitely caught attention. Before we dive in, don't forget to show your support by leaving a like on the video. It really helps the channel grow and allows us to continue bringing you consistent MMA updates and coverage. One of the biggest talking points from last night was Tony Ferguson's boxing bout against Spencer Warren. And honestly, it's safe to say Tony looked refreshed and confident. He put on a strong and composed performance from start to finish, showcasing sharp striking and solid movement throughout the fight. When the final bell rang, Ferguson secured the win via decision on the scorecards. With this victory, Tony Ferguson improves his professional boxing record to 2-0. Considering his long and demanding MMA career, it's impressive to see him transition into boxing and continue to find success. Huge respect to Tony for stepping into a new arena and proving that he still has plenty left in the tank. Another well-known figure who competed last night was Andrew Tate. Unfortunately for him, the night didn't go as planned. Despite the hype surrounding his appearance, he was unable to deliver a winning performance and fell short inside the ring. Overall, last night's fights gave fans something to talk about during this UFC downtime, and there are definitely some interesting storylines developing. Stay tuned, because we'll be keeping a close eye on everything as the combat sports world continues to move forward. But before we jump into the next story, we have a small favor to ask. If you're enjoying the content, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon. It really helps us out and ensures you'll never miss an update. Move on to another news. The MMA community wasted no time reacting after Andrew Tate's recent boxing performance, and the response was anything but kind. Following Tony Ferguson's appearance, attention quickly shifted to Tate, whose fight ended in a surprising result that sparked widespread criticism across the MMA world. Last night, Andrew Tate suffered a majority decision loss to Chase Damore in an outcome that shocked many fans. Heading into the fight, Tate was considered a heavy favorite. With his kickboxing background and experience in striking, most expected him to dominate against an opponent best known as a social media influencer. However, the fight did not unfold as anticipated. As the rounds progressed, Tate appeared to slow down significantly. Fatigue became a major factor, and his output dropped in the later stages of the bout. Chase Damore capitalized on this, staying active and composed, ultimately doing enough to secure the decision victory on the judges' scorecard. Almost immediately after the fight, members of the MMA community began voicing their opinions online, roasting Tate, not only for his performance but also for the confidence and online antics he has displayed leading up to the event. UFC middleweight Sean Strickland reacted by saying that Tate's championship claims meant nothing and that he had finally been exposed. Damore responded aggressively to Strickland's comments, firing back and escalating the online back and forth. Former UFC champion Michael Bisping also weighed in, calling the performance hilariously bad, while UFC fighter Vince Morales pointed out that despite the loss, many fans were still offering excuses rather than acknowledging the result. Perhaps the harshest criticism came from Darren Till. Till reportedly walked out of the event while it was still live, later claiming that watching the fight was so poor it felt like he was unlearning boxing. He posted a video expressing his frustration, stating that the performance disrespected everything he believed in as a professional striker and questioning what he was even watching. Overall, the fight became a major talking point, not for the action itself, but for the overwhelming reaction it received. Whether fair or not, Andrew Tate's boxing performance has now become one of the most discussed and criticized moments in recent combat sports conversation. Move on to another news. Aljamain Sterling made headlines last night after issuing a bold and energetic call-out aimed directly at the featherweight division. Clearly motivated and eager to stay active, Sterling didn't hold back as he named multiple top contenders and made it clear that he's ready to fight anyone anywhere. Speaking confidently, Sterling said that he feels stronger than ever and believes the challenges ahead will only push him further. He specifically called out Lerone Murphy, stating that he's ready to face him as early as February or March, even if that means stepping into Murphy's hometown. According to Sterling, he welcomes the pressure and is prepared to bring the intensity required to compete at the highest level. Sterling also mentioned Yair Rodriguez, making it clear that he's ready for that matchup as well. He expressed confidence in his abilities and said he's prepared to bring the heat against any elite striker in the division. In addition, Sterling revisited his previous bout with Movsar Evloev, claiming that he believes he won that fight and would gladly run it back to settle the score once and for all. Throughout his message, Sterling emphasized that he's ready for anyone the featherweight division has to offer. He urged UFC President Dana White to line up the right fights and stated that he's willing to step on any stage, even suggesting he would compete at a potential White House event if the opportunity arose. Sterling also addressed the urgency behind his callouts, acknowledging his age and the reality of time in the sport. At 36 years old, he made it clear that he's not interested in waiting around. His focus is on staying active, making money, and continuing to build his legacy while he still has the opportunity. Ending his statement with intensity, Sterling challenged the division to step up, urging his potential opponents to stop delaying and commit to the fight. His message was simple and direct: bring the pressure, bring the challenge, and let's get things moving. With this call-out, Aljamain Sterling has firmly inserted himself into the featherweight title conversation, and now all eyes are on how the UFC responds. Move on to another news. Sparring footage featuring Islam Makhachev and Usman Nurmagomedov has recently surfaced, giving fans a rare behind-the-scenes look at two elite fighters sharing the cage in training. While fans should not expect to ever see these two compete against each other in an official bout, at least not for money, the released footage offers a glimpse of them exchanging strikes during an intense sparring session. Islam Makhachev and Usman Nurmagomedov are longtime friends, teammates, and training partners, which makes an actual fight between them highly unlikely. However, this newly released clip shows the pair throwing hands in a controlled but competitive environment, highlighting the high-level skill and mutual respect that exists between them. The sparring session reportedly took place in preparation for Islam Makhachev's championship victory at UFC 322. In the footage, both fighters apply steady pressure, showing sharp timing, discipline, defense, and a calculated approach rather than reckless aggression. The exchanges reflect the technical striking and composure that have become trademarks of fighter coming out of the Dagestan camp. As of now, it remains unclear who Makhachev will face next or when he will make his first appearance as the UFC's welterweight champion. Despite the uncertainty, Makhachev has already made his intentions known by calling out former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman, signaling his desire for a high-profile and challenging matchup to begin his reign in the division. Meanwhile, Usman Nurmagomedov continues to build his own legacy outside the UFC. He is set to defend his PFL lightweight title in an upcoming bout against Alfie Davis, a fight that could further solidify his position as one of the top lightweights competing outside the UFC banner. This sparring footage has sparked significant discussion among fans, not because of rivalry, but because it showcases the level of talent and preparation behind two champions at the peak of their careers. While they may never meet under the bright lights on fight night, moments like this offer a rare and fascinating look into how elite fighters sharpen their skills behind closed doors. Move on to another news. Jake Paul has revealed troubling health news following his highly publicized boxing match against former heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua. While Paul surprised many with his performance and reportedly earned a massive payday in a single night, the fight came at a significant physical cost. Paul managed to survive 5 full rounds against Joshua, an achievement few expected given the massive size, power, and experience difference. However, in the 6th round, Joshua landed a devastating right hand that ended the fight. Immediately afterward, Paul expressed concern that his jaw had been broken. Those fears were later confirmed. Through social media, Paul shared X-ray images revealing that his jaw was fractured in 2 places. He also confirmed that he underwent successful surgery, during which doctor installed titanium plates on both sides of his jaw and removed several teeth. Paul stated that he will be restricted to a liquid-only diet for at least 7 days while he begins the recovery process. Despite the injury, he remained defiant, even jokingly calling out Canelo Alvarez shortly after surgery. The bout drew reactions from across the combat sports world. Conor McGregor praised Paul for stepping into the ring, while Anderson Silva, who previously fought Paul in 2022, urged fans to show him respect. Silva emphasized that Paul has clearly improved over time and deserves credit for continuing to test himself inside the ring. Interestingly, criticism also emerged surrounding Joshua's performance. Even before the fight concluded, some fans and analysts questioned why the former champion hadn't finished Paul earlier. Brendan Schaub echoed those concerns, but also acknowledged that no one has brought more attention to boxing in recent years than Jake Paul. UFC host Nina Drama also expressed skepticism during the fight, noting moments where Joshua appeared hesitant to follow up on openings. Paul himself added fuel to the discussion box, responding to a viral post questioning whether anyone would accept a broken jaw for $92 million. Paul said yes, but questioned whether Joshua was overly cautious due to the risk a loss would pose to his career. Looking ahead, Paul has made it clear he plans to continue boxing, while he continues to call out elite names. Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson suggested a more traditional boxing path. Johnson emphasized the need for improved cardio, rhythm, speed, and experience against real boxers rather than influencers. Move on to another news. Anderson Silva provided an update on his future in combat sports, following his impressive return to action on Friday night. The legendary former UFC middleweight champion delivered a highlight reel knockout against Tyron Woodley, reminding fans once again that even at 50 years old, his skill and timing remain elite. Immediately after stopping Woodley in the second round, Silva spoke with Ariel Helwani and made it clear that this victory was not the end of his fighting journey. He explained that while he plans to continue giving back outside the ring, even mentioning ambitions of enrolling in a police academy with the Beverly Hills Police Department, his competitive fire is far from gone. Silva emphasized that this was not his final fight, and that he intends to return for another event in the near future. When asked to name a potential opponent, he didn't hesitate. Silva called out Chris Weidman, the man who famously ended his historic reign as UFC middleweight champion. Acknowledging Weidman's recent injury, Silva said he was willing to wait until Weidman fully recovers, stating that he wants to put on a true show and demonstrate what former UFC fighters are capable of inside a boxing ring. Given that Weidman was originally scheduled to face Silva at the event before suffering an injury, a potential rebooking now seems very realistic. That possibility gained even more traction when Weidman quickly responded on social media congratulating Silva on the win and accepting the challenge, making it clear that he's interested in the matchup once healthy. During the post-fight press conference, Silva was also asked how much longer he plans to continue fighting. The Brazilian icon admitted he doesn't operate on a timeline. Instead, he explained that each day, he wakes up grateful for the opportunity to continue training and competing. While he acknowledged that his family often questions his decision to keep fighting at this stage of his life, Silva embraced that mindset, admitting that passion is what continues to drive him. With Friday's victory, Anderson Silva now holds a professional boxing record of 4 wins and 2 losses. He has also taken part in several boxing exhibitions against Chael Sonnen and Bruno Machado, both of which ended without an official result. The question now is whether fans will finally see Anderson Silva and Chris Weidman square off in a boxing ring, closing one of the most iconic rivalries in MMA history in an entirely new setting. Move on to another news. Manel Kape has stepped in to defend Joshua Van following the wave of backlash the newly crowned champion has received online. Van has been heavily criticized for how he celebrated his victory over Alexandre Pantoja at UFC 323, a win that many fans felt came under unfortunate circumstances rather than decisive dominance. Pantoja's title reign came to an abrupt and unexpected end at UFC 323 when he suffered a serious arm injury just moments into the fight after an awkward fall to the canvas. With the bout ending in such a fluky fashion, some fans took issue with Van's emphatic celebration, arguing that it lacked respect for a fighter widely regarded as one of the best pound-for-pound athletes in the sport. However, following Kape's knockout victory over Brandon Royval 1 week later, the flyweight contender sat down with TMZ and offered his perspective on the situation. When asked about Van's post-fight reaction, Kape didn't hesitate to come to the 24-year-old champion's defense. Kape explained that Van simply reacted in the moment, emphasizing that not everyone had the maturity or experience to immediately process such a life-changing achievement. He pointed out that winning a world championship is something very few people ever experience, and those who haven't been in that position shouldn't be so quick to judge how someone responds emotionally. According to Kape, Van is young, the moment was new, and it's unfair to hold him to unrealistic standards. Kape went on to say that, in the end, none of the criticism truly matters. What matters is the belt, and Joshua Van is the one holding it. From his perspective, Van is the legitimate champion, and the result stands regardless of how it came about. That said, Kape also made it clear that his defense of Van doesn't mean he lacks ambition. While showing respect, he issued a warning of his own, stating that he's coming for the real champion and has his sights set firmly on Van's title. Now, attention turns to what's next for the flyweight division. With Pantoja reportedly not expected to be sidelined for long following his injury, a potential rematch could still be in play. At the same time, A showdown between Joshua Van and Manel Kape would be a high-stakes matchup that could define the division moving forward. As the situation continues to develop, all eyes remain on the UFC to see which direction they choose next. Move on to another news. New details continue to emerge surrounding the situation involving Ilia Topuria and Georgina Uzcategui, and the story appears to be growing more complicated by the day. With it now confirmed that Topuria will not be defending his UFC title anytime soon, increased attention has turned toward the personal matters that are reportedly contributing to his absence from competition. For some time, speculation circulated that Topuria's extended break from fighting was connected to a divorce. The champion later acknowledged that personal issues were the reason behind his hiatus, though specifics were not initially made public. More recently, however, reports have surfaced outlining serious claims tied to an ongoing civil separation process between Topuria and Uzcategui. According to multiple reports, after Topuria filed for civil separation, Uzcategui allegedly threatened to release damaging allegations if certain financial terms were not met. In a subsequent statement, Topuria denied wrongdoing and stated that he has been subjected to what he described as unacceptable pressure, including threats involving false allegations unless financial demands were satisfied. Spanish journalist Marta Corbalán of El Mundo has continued covering the developing situation, with additional details summarized in a follow-up report. According to that reporting, the couple has a prenuptial agreement in place. Uzcategui is currently residing in the family home with their daughter, as she reportedly does not have another residence in Spain, with her family network based primarily in the United States and Venezuela. It was also noted that Topuria's life has been extensively documented over the past 2.5 years due to a documentary project, and sources close to him claim he possesses recordings that support his version of events and refute the allegations being made. At this stage, both sides have reportedly been unable to reach an agreement regarding financial terms, which remains a central point of contention. While one source close to the situation denies that any form of extortion is taking place, they emphasize that negotiations have become difficult, as is often the case in high-profile separations involving significant financial consideration. Based on the latest developments, the situation does not appear close to resolution. Unfortunately for fight fans, this ongoing dispute could mean that Ilia Topuria remains sidelined for an extended period before returning to the octagon. That wraps up today's update. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future MMA news and breaking developments. We'll see you next time.